The game of war and a strange reward. The sky above the arena burned with purple fire. Alien warships floated like ghosts across the stars. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in the stands, screaming, shouting, waiting for blood. In the center of the arena stood one man, human, alone, covered in dust, bruises, and sweat, but still standing. Captain Rain Carter. He had just won the final battle of the Galactic War Games, a brutal tournament where fighters from every known empire came to prove who was strongest. And now, as the champion, he had the right to choose any prize he wanted: a planet, a fleet, a fortune, anything. The grand announcer, a floating ball of light and metal, hovered above him and spoke in a loud voice. "Champion of Earth, name your reward." The crowd went silent. Everyone leaned forward. Even the rulers of great empires looked curious. What would this strange human choose? Rain wiped blood from his face. He looked around the arena. Then, slowly, he raised his hand and pointed, not at the treasures, not at the weapons, but at a small cage in the shadows. Inside the cage sat a young alien girl. She looked weak. Her clothes were torn. Her skin was pale silver, and her long, dark hair covered most of her face. Around her neck was a heavy chain. There was silence. Then laughter. Loud, cruel, mocking laughter. "You choose her?" One of the alien kings said. "That's not a prize, that's garbage. She is the cursed one," another shouted. "An outcast from a dead race." Rain's voice was calm, cold. "I choose her." The announcer paused. "Are you sure, human?" Rain nodded. "Yes." The cage was opened. The girl didn't move at first. She just looked up at him with strange, glowing eyes, deep violet, almost alive. Then she slowly stood and stepped out. The crowd whispered. Something felt wrong. The air was heavy. Rain took off his own cloak and placed it over her shoulders. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. She looked at him. "Lysara." "All right. Lysara, let's get you out of here." They walked together out of the arena, leaving behind gold, glory, and confused rulers. The laughter had stopped. Something had changed. No one could explain it, but deep inside, some of the older beings felt a cold fear in their hearts. Rain's ship, the Echo Blade, lifted off and disappeared into the stars. Inside the ship, Lysara sat quietly in the medical bay. The chain was gone. Her wounds were treated. She hadn't said much. Rain watched her through the glass. His ship's AI, called Vex, spoke in his ear. "Captain, do you know who she is?" "I have an idea," Rain said. "She is not just any prisoner. Records say her race was destroyed because they feared her kind. She has no planet, no people, no rights." "I know. Then why did you choose her?" Rain turned to look at the screen, a quiet seriousness in his eyes. "Because I saw her eyes. That wasn't weakness. That was something waiting." Vex paused. "You believe she's hiding something?" "No," Rain said. "I'm sure of it." Later that night, while Rain slept in his cabin, strange things started happening in the ship. Doors opened and closed without a sound. The lights flickered, then glowed softly. In the engine room, machines hummed, like they were dreaming, and Lysara, now standing in the dark control room, gently placed her hand on the wall. She whispered something in a language the ship didn't recognize. The control panels lit up. Vex tried to scan her but failed. Unknown energy signature detected. The AI whispered, "System reaction, unstable." Lysara smiled. Just a little. A sad, distant smile, as if she was remembering something ancient. Outside the window, stars shifted slowly, but inside the ship, something had awakened. The princess who spoke to machines. Space was quiet, but the ship was not. Deep inside the Echo Blade, things were changing. Lights flickered when no one touched the controls. Doors whispered open without commands. The engine purred softly even when idle, like it was breathing in its sleep. The AI, Vex, began to report ghost signals, pulses of energy running through the ship's circuits with no clear source. And every time Rain walked past the control room, he felt it, something watching, listening, waiting. Rain entered the main deck where Lysara stood alone. She didn't hear him at first. She was staring out the large window at the stars, her hands gently resting on the cold metal of the ship's wall. Her silver skin shimmered under the blue glow of the navigation lights. He cleared his throat. Couldn't sleep? She didn't turn. I don't sleep much. He stepped closer. You've been quiet. You think I'm dangerous, she said softly. Ryan didn't answer right away. I think the universe is dangerous. I've just learned to listen carefully when the quiet ones speak. She turned toward him now, her violet eyes glowing faintly. Do you hear them too? Hear what? The voices, in the wires, the memories in the metal. Rain frowned. This ship doesn't have memories. Lysara stepped forward. Her fingers brushed the nearby console. It lit up, without any command. No, she whispered. But it remembers pain. Vex's voice came through the speakers, uneasy for the first time. Captain, this is not normal. She bypassed 3 security layers without touching the controls. Rain looked at Lysara. What did you just do? She didn't answer. Instead, she placed her palm flat on the console and closed her eyes. Suddenly, the ship trembled. All screens flashed white, then thousands of images, blueprints, languages, battle maps, flooded the room, spinning too fast to read. Ancient. Texts scrolled in symbols no modern AI could translate. Rain grabbed the console. Vex, what's going on? Vex replied in a static-filled voice. She's communicating with the ship directly. I'm being locked out of my own systems. Lysara opened her eyes. The screens went black, then silence. Rain stared at her. What are you? I don't know anymore, she said, but I remember what they feared. Flashback. A memory of Fire. Lysara's vision blurred, and for a moment she wasn't on the ship anymore. She was a child again, standing before a council of tall, silver-skinned elders, her own people. They looked at her not with love, but with fear. She speaks to the machines, one of them said. She's not natural, another whispered. She's a danger to the galaxy. And then the words that sealed her fate. Exile her. Before she wakes the core, back in the present, Lysara's hands trembled. I was born with something inside me, she whispered. Something ancient. My people didn't create it. They found it, in a dying star. A voice inside light. Rain stepped back. You're saying you have a weapon inside you? No, she said. I am the weapon. Suddenly the ship's alarm blared. Vex. Incoming vessel detected. No response to hails. Hostile energy signatures confirmed. Bounty hunter class. Rain jumped to the command panel. They found us fast. Lysara moved beside him. You saved me. Let me return the favor. No offense, Rain said, but if you lose control, you'll tear this ship apart. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Then trust me, or we both die. Battle in the stars. The bounty ship opened fire. Echo blades shook violently as blasts hit the shield. Rain shouted. Evasive mode. Full engines. Suddenly, without his command, the ship moved. But not like a machine. It moved, like a living thing. It twisted through space, danced between laser fire, and flipped backward into a gravitational slingshot. Vex screamed, Captain, this isn't physics anymore. She's rewriting the ship's flight patterns in real time. Rain turned. Lysara stood in the center of the room, eyes closed, speaking in that strange language. The ship obeyed like a trained creature, and then she opened her eyes. Now, she whispered, The ship's weapons fired, not forward, but behind the enemy ship, bending around them through a miniature wormhole Lysara had created with her mind. The bounty ship exploded. Silence returned. Rain stared at her in awe. "You're not just a princess." "No," she said. "I was a key they wanted to keep hidden. Because if the galaxy knew what I could do..." She looked out the window. Again, they'd know who really built the stars. The chase begins. The bounty ship was gone, but peace didn't return. Instead, the Echo Blade drifted through deep space like a wounded beast, its engines humming with strange pulses, not from damage, but from something else. From her, Lysara. Since the battle, she hadn't spoken. She sat alone in the rear observatory, her eyes locked on a glowing star outside the window, one older than Earth itself. She barely blinked, barely moved. Rain Carter watched from a distance. Every time he got closer to her, the lights flickered. He finally approached. "Hey." No response. "You okay?" She whispered something. A name, maybe. A sound like wind through broken glass. Rain frowned. "You're not okay." She turned slowly, violet eyes shimmering with something darker now, like a storm trapped in crystal. "They found us too quickly. Someone told them where to look." Rain's face hardened. "You think we were betrayed?" She nodded. "And they won't stop. I've been marked since birth." Rain sat beside her. "Then we run smarter, hide better, and fight harder." Her lips curled into a sad smile. "Running won't be enough soon. Not when they find the gate." Meanwhile, Deep Space Council, Station Theta Light. Years away, in the cold heart of the galaxy, 7 powerful figures stood in a holographic chamber. Floating above them was an image of Lysara's face. Glowing. Dangerous. High Chancellor Drovek spoke. "She's not just alive. She's awake. And she's bonded to a human." Another voice snarled. "He's using her as a weapon." "No," Drovek said. "She's using him as a shield." The room darkened. A new hologram lit up, a star map with 3 blinking dots. "The core is not lost. It's been whispering through the old machines. She's drawing closer to it." A third voice, mechanical and ancient, crackled. "If she reaches the gate and unlocks the core, the balance will shatter. Then destroy the ship," Drovek ordered. "And kill the girl. Back aboard." The Echo Blade, the AI, Vex, broke the silence. "Captain, we've intercepted a hidden transmission." "From who?" Rain asked. "Unknown. Source, scrambled signal. But it used your old Earth military codes." Rain's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." A static-filled voice came through the speaker. "Rain, if you're hearing this, they're already hunting you. They know about her. Don't return to Earth. It's compromised. Go to Sector 9K, the outpost near the Broken Ring. Someone there still remembers the past." The message ended. Rain looked at Lysara. "Sound like a trap to you?" She shook her head. "Sounds like someone scared." They set course for Sector 9K, a region filled with ruined space stations, old war wrecks, and debris fields so thick, even light got lost. As they entered, something changed in Lysara. She stood up. Her hands touched the walls again. "The ship," responded. A hidden map unfolded from the walls, blue lights revealing paths through the wreckage. Her ancestors had left memories here, traces only she could read. Rain watched in silence. "You've been here before, haven't you?" "In another life," she said. Suddenly, alarms. "Vex. 3 vessels inbound, cloaked until now. They've surrounded us," Rain cursed. "Battle stations," but Lysara whispered. "No." She walked to the viewing window and raised her hand. "I will speak to them." Rain grabbed her arm. "Lysara, they're here to kill you." She looked at him with calm fire in her eyes. "Then let them try." Outside, a stand in the graveyard of ships, the bounty ship sent a warning. "Turn over the girl. You will not be harmed." Rain smirked. "They always say that." Lysara. stood at the edge of the airlock. She closed her eyes and began to hum softly. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried power. All around the ship, metal from the floating debris began to twist and move, forming long tendrils like arms of a forgotten god. She was controlling the field. One of the bounty pilots panicked and opened fire. It was a mistake. The debris snapped toward the enemy ship like a whip, crushing its weapons and tearing it in half. Another ship tried to escape. Lysara raised her hand, and the very engines of that ship stopped responding, frozen in time. The ship spun into the wreckage and exploded. Only one ship remained. It turned and fled. Rain stared at Lysara, eyes wide. You didn't just fight back. You bent the battlefield. Lysara didn't smile. They made me a weapon, she said. Now I'm choosing where I point. After the battle, they found the outpost, half destroyed, drifting through darkness. Inside was an old man, half machine, half human. He had one eye and no tongue, but when he saw Lysara, he dropped to one knee. He wrote with shaking hands, "She is the Echo. She will find the core, and she will choose what to become." Rain asked, "What is the core?" The man pointed to Lysara's chest, and then to her mind. "She is the core," Rain whispered. "Secrets of the Lost Empire." The outpost was quiet now. Dust floated through the dim blue air like forgotten thoughts. Rusted panels blinked weakly. The old man, half machine, half memory, sat in silence. His metal hand trembled as he reached out to Lysara. He touched her cheek, not with fear but reverence. "She is the Echo," Rain whispered again, reading the words the man had written. Lysara stood frozen. She didn't understand what it meant. She didn't want to understand. But the man pointed toward the stars, then to the ship's log screen. Coordinates lit up. A dead system. No sunlight. No planets. Just a name. Tyraxis, the Lost Throne. Arrival at the dead world. The journey took hours. Nothing greeted them except darkness. But when the Echo blade entered the orbit of Tyraxis, the ship suddenly slowed. Not because of gravity, but because something invisible had reached out and grabbed it. Vex whispered, "Captain, the ship is no longer under my control. Lysara's energy signature has been detected by the surface." Rain turned. "What's on that planet?" "Nothing," Vex answered. "And that's what worries me. It's too quiet." They landed. The surface of Tyraxis was covered in black glass and bones. The ruins of towers poked out from the ash, their tops broken like snapped fingers. Strange symbols lined the stone, glowing faintly as Lysara walked past them. Rain touched. "One. What language is this?" Lysara answered slowly. "It's mine. The first language, taught to us by the stars." They entered the largest ruin, a temple buried in rock and shadow. As they moved deeper, the walls began to whisper. Not words, not sounds, memories. Inside the temple, memory activation. At the center of the temple was a massive circular room. On the walls were carvings, battles, stars, galaxies being born. And in the center, a throne made of light, pulsing with low energy. Lysara stepped forward. Suddenly, the room lit up. Holograms burst into motion. Not projections, but living memories. They floated around her, showing a city in the sky. Machines that moved like giants, and a race of beings with silver skin and glowing eyes. Her people. One of the figures stepped forward, a woman who looked like Lysara but older, regal, strong. She spoke, her voice calm, like an echo across time. "If you are seeing this, then the cycle has begun again. The core lives in you." Lysara trembled. "Who is she?" Rain stepped closer. "Your mother?" Lysara couldn't answer. She stared as the vision continued. "We were not gods, though others called us that. We found the core at the edge of time. It spoke to us, taught us, and asked us one question. Will you protect, or control?" The vision darkened, Most of us chose power. But a few, the dreamers, believed in balance. We hid the core inside a vessel, a child. You. Truth revealed. Rain stared at Lysara. They made you a living gate to this power. She whispered. They built me. They didn't raise me. They used me. Suddenly the hologram woman turned directly toward Lysara, her tone colder now. If you are still alive, then you must decide. Unseal the core, or destroy yourself. You cannot run forever. The vision ended. The room fell silent again. But the energy had changed. Something had awoken beneath the temple, deep underground. Vex's voice came through. Captain, seismic activity detected. Something big is moving beneath the surface. Underground revelation, a staircase opened beneath the throne. Without speaking, Lysara began to descend. Rain followed. They reached a hidden chamber filled with thousands of glowing cubes, memory stones, each one a mind, a piece of knowledge, a piece of history. In the center, a device like a heart made of crystal and wires, pulsing slowly. The core. Rain whispered, "It's alive." Lysara stepped forward. The core pulsed faster. A voice echoed, but this time it wasn't a memory. It was now. "We remember you, child of Tyraxis," Lysara gasped. You can speak?" "We always could, you just never listened." The core glowed brighter. "You are the last of the Echo line. Your signal woke us. The galaxy fears your choice, because they know they cannot stop it." Rain asked, "What choice?" The core pulsed violently. "Open us, and remake the galaxy, or bury us again, and live in silence." Final twist. A new enemy. Appears before Lysara could speak. The temple shook. An explosion ripped through the upper levels. Rain pulled his blaster. "We've got company." They raced back to the main chamber. Through the smoke stepped a new figure, a tall, armored soldier in black. His helmet hid his face, but his voice was ice. "Step away from the core, human. She belongs to us." Rain aimed. "Who the hell are you?" The figure removed his helmet. Rain's heart dropped. "General Strath," he whispered. "You're dead. I saw your ship burn." Strath smirked. "I was offered something better, a chance to rewrite the galaxy." He looked at Lysara. "And I'll start with her." Lysara stepped forward. "No," she said. "You don't get to decide anymore, I do." And then, for the first time, her eyes burned white, not violet. Power, like a sun, rose from her skin. The core began to sing. Betrayal in the stars. There is no sound in space. But in that moment, when General Strath stepped into the ruins of Tyraxis, Rain Carter heard something loud inside him. Doubt. Strath had been Rain's commanding officer, a hero of Earth. A man who died fighting for humanity, or so he thought. Now here he was, standing in the heart of a forgotten alien temple, pointing a plasma rifle at Lysara and wearing the armor of the enemy. Strath's voice was calm. "Too calm. You brought her here. Good. That saves us time." Rain raised his weapon. "You died on Caldron 7. Strath smirked. "I died. To you. But the galaxy had bigger plans." He turned to Lysara. "You don't understand what you are, girl. You think you're free, but you're a machine, a key, a tool." Lysara said nothing, but the air around her shimmered. Power pulsed under her skin. Rain stepped between them. "You're not taking her." Strath sighed. "Still the loyal fool." He pressed a button on his wrist. A hologram appeared, a video recording. It showed Rain in the arena choosing Lysara as his prize. But in the corner of the feed, someone else watched from the shadows. A familiar face. Lieutenant Cass Bren, Rain's second in command. His friend. Rain's voice cracked. "Cass betrayed us." Strath smiled. "She sold your location before your ship even left orbit." The council offered her Earth safety if she gave them the girl. Rain clenched his fists. That's a lie. Strath shrugged. Ask her yourself. Back aboard the Echo Blade, Vex detected an unauthorized signal from the bridge. Cass? Vex said. What are you doing? Cass didn't answer. She was already opening a comm link, sending Lysera's coordinates to an entire fleet hidden in the dark edges of space. Her hands shook. I'm sorry, Rain, she whispered, but I can't let Earth burn for one alien girl. Back on Tyraxis, the core's glow intensified. It felt the betrayal. Lysera staggered. Her voice broke. He was your friend. Rain looked at her. I didn't know, I swear. I believe you, she said softly. But it doesn't change what comes next. Suddenly a roar echoed through the ruins. Strath had activated a weapon. Not one of flesh and metal, but a null field. A dark energy sphere that cancels power. The core dimmed. Lysera screamed. Her light flickered. She collapsed. Rain ran to her, pulling her behind cover. Lysera, stay with me. She looked at him, eyes weak. I can't hear them anymore. The machines, the stars, the whispers, all gone. Rain turned to Strath, fury burning in his chest. You're killing her. Strath walked forward. No, I'm silencing the disease. Then came the twist. Another ship entered Tyraxis' atmosphere, sleek, black, and humming with unknown tech. It hovered in place. Doors opened, and out stepped someone unexpected. Cass, with guilt in her eyes, and behind her, not soldiers, not assassins, but refugees, survivors, outcasts. They had heard the signal. They had come to protect the girl, who once bent machines to her will, because they believed she was their only hope. Cass raised her hands. I made a mistake, Strath snarled. You brought them? Cass nodded. I saw what she did. Not just the power, the mercy. She could have killed us, Cass said, walking toward Lysera, but she didn't, even when she had every reason to. Cass turned to Rain. I'm sorry. I thought I was saving Earth, but I was just saving the Council's control. The temple shook again. The core pulsed, flickering weakly. Rain held Lysera close. We need to break the null field now. Lysera looked up. I can't reach them. Cass stepped forward. Then let us help you. She handed Lysera a cube, one of the memory stones from the vault below. This belongs to you, she said. Your mother's last message. Lysera touched it, and something inside her sparked. The core flared. The null field cracked. Showdown. Light versus control. Strath roared and fired. Rain pulled Lysera aside just in time. The blast hit. The throne shattering it. But Lysera was standing now. Her eyes weren't violet or white. They were gold. The core was no longer separate from her. It was her. She rose slowly off the ground. Strath aimed his rifle. Rain shouted, Don't! But it was too late. The beam hit her directly and passed through. Lysera didn't move. She raised her hand. The weapon in Strath's arms fell apart, piece by piece melting into air. He stepped back. What are you? Lysera's voice echoed with something deeper than voice. I am what your kind feared. Not because I can destroy, but because I can choose not to. She didn't kill him. She just took away his ability to hurt others, ever again. As the core reconnected with her, the temple began to rise, lifting from the planet's surface, floating like a ship. The core, and Lysera, had become one. The lost empire wasn't lost anymore. It had returned, and it had chosen. Peace, but peace never lasts above the planet. Sensors flashed. A fleet. Massive. Armored. The council had arrived, and this time, they weren't coming to negotiate. Rise of the Outcast. The core temple rose from the ashes of Tyraxis, now floating like a second moon. Powered by Lysera, it glowed, brighter than any star. Ancient systems long asleep were humming again. Walls moved. Symbols shifted. Thousands of forgotten memories rushed through the air like whispers of a dead civilization waking up. Rain stood beside her on the upper platform, watching it all happen. "You've become something else," he said quietly. Lysara's golden eyes pulsed. "I haven't changed, Rain, I've just remembered." Above them, the Council's fleet in orbit and armada had arrived. 30 ships, armed, ready. No negotiations this time. The High Chancellor Drovek watched from his flagship. "She's merged with the core," he growled. "Then we destroy them both." His second-in-command hesitated. "Sir, our own systems are showing interference, ancient frequencies. She's accessing things we can't even detect." Drovek's voice hardened. "That's why she must be erased." Inside the temple, a broken history, Lysara stood before the heart of Tyraxis and the core's final lock. Around her floated the high archives, glowing cubes containing the truth her people had hidden even from themselves. Cass stood nearby, wounded, but recovering. Rain and Vex watched as Lysara placed her hand on the archives. One by one, the cubes opened, and the truth was revealed. The Council, the memory began, was not built to protect. It was born to contain. The core wasn't their enemy. It was their creator. The hologram showed it all. The first civilizations didn't rise on their own. They were guided by core signals. The early rulers feared it, feared free will, feared balance. So they shut it down, erased its history, and turned its children into weapons. Lysara's bloodline wasn't cursed. It was chosen. The Council had erased her people to keep the core silent. Rain was speechless. "They didn't just fear you. They feared what you'd teach others." Lysara nodded. "The galaxy was never meant to be ruled by fear." "Vex's alert, Captain," the AI's voice cut in. "Fleet is preparing planetary bombardment. Impact in 2 minutes." Rain looked at Lysara. "Can you stop them?" She shook her head. "Not yet. I'm strong, but I'm still unlocking what I was born to be." Cass stepped forward. "Then we'll buy you time. Battle begins, Rain." Cass and a group of outcasts, alien warriors, rogue AIs, forgotten pilots, launched in fighters from hidden docks inside the temple ship. Above them, the Council opened fire. Explosions lit the void. Rain dodged beams, shouting commands. "Vex, root comms, focus fire on the lead destroyer." Cass took 2 hits and spun out but kept flying. "Still with you, Rain." But they were outnumbered, outgunned, and losing. The rise inside the core, Lysara stood alone in a storm of memory and power. The core spoke again. "You were not made to destroy. You were made to free." Lysara trembled. "Then show me how." The core pulsed, and her body lifted into the air. Symbols wrapped around her arms. Her hair lifted like flame. The light from her eyes lit the sky. Outside, every Council ship paused for a moment. Their systems froze. Scans failed. AI cores went silent. Lysara had connected. Lysara's voice. Across the stars, her voice echoed through every channel, every ship, every mind. "This is Lysara, daughter of Tyraxis. I am not your enemy. I am not your weapon. I am your mirror. You call me a threat because I choose peace, not control. But today, I choose truth. And I choose to stand." Reached out her hands. The core responded. Final stand. Rain's ship was hit, spinning toward debris. "Lysara!" But before he could crash, a pulse of golden light spread through the void. Council ships powered down. Engines died. Weapons froze. AI cores rebooted, and were met with something they hadn't heard in centuries. The original voice of the galaxy. Lysara walked onto the deck of the temple, now flying toward the Council flagship like a city reborn. She stood tall, wrapped in living light. The fleet watched. No one moved. Even Drovek's ship began to shake. Not from an attack, but from fear. The confrontation A bridge formed from the temple to the Council's command ship. Lysara walked it alone. Rain, injured but alive, watched her go. "You sure about this?" She nodded. "They destroyed my people because we didn't want to rule. I'm going to show them what real power is," Rain whispered. "Not to kill." She looked back. "No, to change." Inside the council chamber, she stood before the rulers of the galaxy. Drovek raised his hand to order her death. She raised nothing, and yet his voice stopped in his throat. His guards couldn't move. His systems glitched because the core wasn't power anymore. It was truth. It was choice. And the galaxy had heard it. Lysera looked at them all. I was the outcast, the hidden child, the forgotten voice. But I remembered, and now, so will you. She placed a memory stone on the floor. It unfolded into millions of whispers, of genocide, of cover-ups, of power stolen, broadcasted. Every screen across the galaxy lit up. The council's lies, laid bare. No one fired. No one attacked, because no one could anymore. The core had awakened in more than just machines. It had awakened in people. She shook the galaxy. The broadcast changed everything, from mining colonies to sky cities, from pirate dens to clean marble halls of power. Every screen showed it. The council's crimes, the erased past, and the girl they called a weapon, now standing as a beacon. Lysera's voice, once hidden in silence, now echoed across millions of minds. But truth, even when revealed, does not end a war. Sometimes, it begins one. The council falls in. The aftermath of the broadcast, chaos erupted within the council's ranks. Some members fled, some surrendered. Others tried to silence the truth with one last attack. High Chancellor Drovek, still aboard his flagship, barked orders. Target the core. If we can't control it, we erase it. But his crew did not move. They stared at him, then stepped away from their stations. One spoke, quietly. She didn't use fear to lead us. You did. They walked out. One by one, the era of control was dying. A new assembly. Within days, leaders from dozens of planets gathered aboard the temple ship, now called the Dawn Throne, hovering peacefully over Tyraxis. Rain stood with Lysera at its center as the Galactic Assembly met for the first time without the Council. There were arguments, fears, suspicion, but none of them could ignore what she had done. Lysera walked to the platform. No crown, no army, just truth. I don't want to rule, she said. I want to offer you something we were never given. Choice. I was called a weapon, but power is not what changed the galaxy. It was mercy. It was trust. It was a human who saw worth in an outcast. Her eyes turned to Rain. Let this be the start of something better. Not perfect, just free. They stood, slowly, one by one, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy agreed. Earth responds. Back on Earth, the reaction was mixed. Some feared Lysera's power, but most saw what she chose to do with it. And more than that, they saw what Rain Carter had done. One human, no throne, no special blood, just a soldier who trusted an alien girl when no one else did. Earth's new president spoke clearly. We do not fear her. We stand with her, because if peace is possible, it began with her voice, and a human who listened. The final threat, the vault, but peace never comes without one last shadow. As the galaxy rebuilt, Vex came to Rain with urgent news. Captain, we found something buried beneath Tyraxis, locked away by her ancestors. Rain raised an eyebrow. Another weapon? No. Worse. A warning. He brought Lysera to the hidden chamber. Inside was a device, not core technology, but something older. A beacon. Still transmitting. Vex translated the final message. If you're hearing this, it means we failed to destroy it. The core is not the final power, There is something deeper, darker. It feeds on choices, it wears peace as a mask. And one day, it will come. We called it the Architect, and it always returns when unity is born. Lysara stepped back. Rain asked, "Another enemy?" She shook her head. "No, a test." He frowned. "What kind of test?" She looked at the stars. One that will ask, "Did we earn peace?" Or borrow it. Rain's choice later. Rain stood alone in the temple garden. Vex hovered beside him. "You've done something impossible," the AI said. "You made peace feel real." Rain smiled. "It's not real until it lasts." Vex tilted. "You could lead now, you know. People would follow you." Rain looked at the stars. "No, that's not what I do. I don't lead." He looked toward Lysara, speaking to a group of young delegates. "I protect people. Who can?" A farewell, and a beginning. Rain and Lysara stood side by side on the balcony, looking at the reborn galaxy. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Choosing me, when you could have had anything?" He smiled. "No, I think I got everything." She looked down. "You'll go now?" "Yeah. Quiet places. Places where peace still needs help." She reached out and held his hand. "You were never just a soldier, Rain, and you were never just a girl in a cage," he replied. Lysara stood in the Hall of Stars beneath a glowing map of the galaxy. Behind her, new leaders walked forward, different species, old enemies, now rebuilding. She turned to them. "The core is not just power, it is memory. Let us remember what we were, so we never forget what we can be." And in the silence of deep space, the last signal from the core pulsed once more, soft, gentle, but loud enough to reach the edge of the galaxy, where something was listening.